This podcast on the Adolescent Brain is brought to you by Emma, Connor, Martina and Mihal from the University of Limerick on the 2nd of November 2017. For the purpose of this podcast, we will look at the adolescent brain through 4 lenses: physical development, emotional development, functionality factors and negative effects. Starting with physical development. In infancy and early childhood, the learner becomes more aware of their surroundings and experience natural physical growth for the first 5 years. Middle childhood and early adolescence becomes a changing point in their physical growth. They start to undergo puberty at this stage. This will bring both emotional and physical changes. In the growth of the adolescent brain, the main change is the pruning of the grey matter. At the same time, other connections are strengthened. This is the brain's way of becoming more efficient based on the use it or lose it principle. The pruning process begins at the back of the brain. The front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is remoulded last. The prefrontal cortex is the decision-making part of the brain. Changes in this part continue into early adulthood. Because the prefrontal cortex is still developing, teenagers may rely more on the part of their brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is associated with emotions, impulses, and instinctive behaviour. Puberty is the beginning of major changes in the limbic system, which may give rise to newly intense experiences of rage, fear, aggression, excitement, and sexual attraction. Emotional development relates to the capacity to recognise, express, and manage feelings at different stages of life, and to have empathy for the feelings of others. The development of these emotions, which include both positive and negative emotions, is largely affected by relationships with parents, teachers, siblings, and peers. Typical emotions include anger, anxiety, fear, guilt, happiness, sadness, joy, and relief. An adolescent's brain is still learning how to control and express emotions. As a result, certain changes become obvious, such as the adolescent showing strong feelings and intense emotions, acting more self-conscious about their appearance, beginning to know more about themselves and having several doubts about themselves, facing role identity issues, becoming rebellious when confronted with an issue, seeking true intimacy and genuine friendships, and preferring to be isolated. Moving on to functionality. Can functionality be increased? During adolescence, the brain growth and development is significant. The prefrontal cortex is still developing, which is why teenagers can appear or behave in an illogical manner. Their brain is still under construction. Nutrition, sleep, and positive thinking all encourage the healthy development of the brain. Evidence has shown that nutrition plays an important role in this development. Omega-3 fatty acids are made up of EPA and DHA, which makes up a large portion of the grey matter in the brain. These oils, particularly DHA, can be found in fatty fish such as salmon and tuna. Vitamin D is so important that its receptors can be found throughout the brain. It plays a crucial role in cognitive functions such as learning. Fatty fish is also a source of vitamin D. As a supplement, cod liver oil is an excellent source. Finally, negative effects on the adolescent brain include marijuana, stress, alcohol, and sports. Marijuana impairs functions such as attention, memory, learning, and decision-making. This leads to poor school performance, higher dropout rates, increased welfare dependence, greater unemployment, and lower life satisfaction. The brain regulates the body's hormonal, immune, and metabolic processes. Chronic stress can increase anxiety and decrease memory and cognitive flexibility. Alcohol affects 2 crucial parts of the brain: the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory and learning, and the prefrontal lobe, which is important for planning, judgment, decision-making, impulse control, and language. Concussions are increasingly common in sports-related injury. It causes changes in the part of the brain called white matter, which leaves lasting effects on many aspects of brain function, from cognition to personality to behaviour. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We hope you have found it informative. If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this podcast, please note the following useful websites.
Created using Powtoon.